Alright, hello! Welcome back. This time we're doing Relient K's self-titled first album that they've made. This one I think is definitely interesting. If you've ever even took the chance to listen to the most popular song off this album, which we'll get to it. It's interesting, but Relient K's start I think was definitely very weird because they started as a Nirvana cover band. Then they went to Christian music, which is kind of like going the opposite direction for sure. And then they got signed to a big record label, and then they ended up with this. Jumping Up a Hurdle. It's Matt Thiessen out there, the blonde guy. But this album I think definitely is interesting with some of the music on it and some of the vibes. Yeah, let's just go and get started. I'm going to go song by song here. And again, if you haven't watched my Legend of Chim one yet, you can go watch that. But I'm going to go by release order, which is why I'm starting with self-titled. But don't worry, we'll get to some of the better Relient K stuff later. But anyway, to start off, this album is Hello McFly. And this one, I think, I've always thought this song was kind of underrated because you see people like say this is their first Relient K song that they listen to, and it was mine too. I'm only 15, so I just don't like to have any nostalgia towards this. But I think it's definitely like a good song. Like, you know, want to go back to the past and fix your mistakes when He did it for you already, Jesus. But I think it's definitely, you know, a good little song. And then the transition from Hello McFly to My Girlfriend I think is pretty funny too. It's a phone call with Hubby Mac saying there will never be a song about Marilyn Manson on this CD, and then it goes on to be a song literally about that. Which, let's get on to that. Marilyn Manson ain't my girlfriend. Yep. I've heard some people say they don't like this song just because of how weird it is, and honestly I could see that, but I don't really find it that weird. I've always found it, you know, be kind of funny. I've always liked this goofy vibe of this album, and I think My Girlfriend definitely shows with that. I think it's like the main goofy song you can find on it. But yeah, I've always liked that song. Definitely, you know, a good meaning, even though the lyrics are kind of funky. She once believed in the truth, now she believes in sin, being drawn in by the wickedness and temptations of this world. I mean, and that's a pretty good song right there. And it's also a pretty good way to share the gospel too, you know, by saying don't go to this world, but it used instead, and don't get ate by Marilyn Manson. Not literally. But anyway, the next song is Wake Up Call and Benediction. And this song definitely is one of those convicting songs that, which I like songs that, you know, convict others and people. Like, you know, I used to stay up until like 3 in the morning doing random dumb stuff that shouldn't be, and that song, you know, kind of describes how I used to be. But definitely, you know, God does give wake-up calls to a lot of people and tells them, like, you know, what they're doing wrong. And I think it's good to have a conviction song in a Christian album, especially one like that, because that shows that you're not scared to tell people the truth. And we shouldn't be as Christians. See, I think that's definitely another good song about this album. And When You're Around is, I think, you know, well, if we're not counting a little like stuff like Benediction and Anchorage, is the shortest song on this album. But it's still, you know, a good little, you know, quick little burst, you know, especially when I listen to this album. I don't think there's even like a single song I would skip off of this. I like this album a fair bit. But it's just a nice, you know, like worship song. I'd say, like, well, it's not slow, but it's definitely like one of like rock worship songs like you would like listen to in church. You know, I like it a lot. It's, you know, just pretty fun. And then Softer to Me is actually my favorite song off of this album. It definitely talks about, you know, going through hard stuff in this world, and, you know, even though we do go through this hard stuff, God is still with us. And as He says, I know this is selfish plea because Christ sacrificed His flesh on the cross for me. You know, I think definitely Softer to Me is a pretty good song again, and it has a good sound to it and everything, and it shares the gospel in such a discreet way, because when you first play the song you think it's, you know, one of those just traditional sad punk songs, but then when you get to it it's like, oh, Jesus, there you go. But right next up, Charles in Charge. This is actually a cover of the theme song from the show. I think it's called Charles. I'm actually just be called Charles in Charge. I don't even know. I never watched it, but I think I'll take what Jesus Freak Out said here. It's taking the theme song and Jesus is find it, if you know what I mean, because he has You, Me, and Jesus at Your Mom's Pizza Parlor in it. I think this is still a fun little song. I've seen someone say they can't stand it though for some reason. I don't understand that. I still think it's a pretty fun song, even though it's just a cover. And then Staples, I think, is another a pretty good song because you still have that goofiness of Relient K, not current Relient K, but old Relient K, with the chunk part in it. But then you have the end, which is we could have died that day. Friends of mine would shed our tears. Good thing would be that we would always know would be living Jesus Christ and in his home. And it gives you hope because if he is following Christ and he is following with all his heart and accepted God in his heart and he is saved by grace, then you know you're gonna be able to see him again one day. And that's just, like I said, it gives you that hope again. Which I think, again, I think a Christian album should be entirely nothing but hope. And that's what that song gives, Staples, is hope. This next song is kind of weird though. 17 magazine. Well, Anchorage and 17 magazine. I never really got the meaning out of it. The meaning I did give to it is to not follow that dumb stuff in this world and to follow Jesus instead, because it's taking a quiz to find out who you like on a dumb magazine. I think is, like I said, dumb. But yeah, I think definitely, that's a song I don't really ever thought meant anything. But then the next two songs I used to like. Well, actually, I still do like them a lot, but I liked them a lot more before. And it's Balloon Ride and Everything Will Be, and they're definitely kind of like when you're around the more worshipy songs. Balloon Ride is honestly a really good song. I know it's definitely like mellow. It has that. I don't think it's not really any other song on the album except maybe Hello McFly that sounds like it. And I really like it a lot. And then that going into Everything Will Be. I used to like Everything Will Be a lot, but then I kind of just fell out of listening to it. I still think it's a good song. I think it's definitely like like one of those rock worship songs you would hear in church. Jesus gets into the good and bad times, but I think definitely if you listen to it the first time, you like it a lot, but then as you can listen to it, you just start listening to other more like songs in this album. Like again, Balloon Ride is really good, and then When You're Around is essentially the same thing as those two songs. But then you get to Nancy Drew, which I still struggle with what this song means. I don't really think that means nothing Christian around. I think, it's just a funny song, like again, the goofiness of this album. And it's not in a hopeless song, it's just a fun little, quick, fast song. It had some worship songs before, then, there's that. And then K-Cars. I wish K-Car didn't have the dumb secret track at the end. But definitely, I think I like K-Car a lot. I like the sound of it. I like the car sound in it too, at the start and the end. But I think there's always how to do like quick little fast-paced meaning. On the road of life, we're gonna get far in the driver's Christ. And it's always just a song I could always go to, and just have fun with it. I mean, that's what this whole album really is. It's just fun and goofy. And should Relient K say it this way? I think they definitely should at least, maybe kept at least a little bit of it, but not do it entirely as they did in this album. Because it's okay to have some goofiness, but for your whole album to be like that, I think it's, maybe not the best thing to do in terms of, getting people to look into it and know about Jesus through your album. But I still don't think it's a bad album. I think it's actually a pretty good album, actually. If I had to give it a ranking, it'd probably be about the same as The Legend of Chen, 6.5 to 7. I know a lot of people really don't like this album, and I can kind of see why, especially with Marilyn Manson, Ain't My Girlfriend. But I've always liked it, and as someone who is not the age to be enjoying music like is on this album, I liked it a lot, for sure. And I probably will keep on listening to it until I fall out of it, and then I'll probably just listen to And 2 lifts. But, you know, for now, it's still a pretty good album. Thank you for watching.